Vikings fans, you are listening to the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle West. I am accompanied by Adam Carlson.
I'm right here.
Yeah, we got Kyle Smith.
Hey, what's going on?
Ready to talk some Vikings football.
We sure are.
Mm-hmm.
Episode number 174 of the Purple People podcast. This one is titled The Donutty Professor. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I think everybody loves the Nutty Professor in some way.
I do.
Fantastic.
The classic, the remake, the books, everything. Just good stuff all around.
But not the sequel. The sequel with Eddie Murphy, Nutty Professor 2, was not good.
No?
No.
I guess a little bit for everyone.
Yep.
Why not?
Not a fan. You know what I am a fan of? The Vikings beating the Kansas City Chiefs.
We're not going to talk about that yet, though. We're going to the quick hits.
We are.
But we will talk about the game coming up. We'll preview the Lions game. We'll do lots of cool stuff. But first, we got some news to talk about. The Vikings have placed defensive tackle Shamar Stephen on injured reserve, and they've signed defensive tackle Kenrick Ellis. I'm back and forth on this one, whether I like the signing or not. It's one of those situations where it's a talented guy who's gotten in some legal trouble in the past. And I know that the Vikings were working extra hard to keep their locker room clean and to try to bring in these high-character people. And I have read the circumstances behind his arrest and why he served some jail time. And I do understand that it could be taken completely out of context what happened. But still, I mean, it's one of those situations where if you're going to gamble on a character guy, why do it now and why do it with this guy instead of doing it in the draft when you got a guy that's got a much higher ceiling?
I will admit...
Still, I'm excited to see a guy with his potential come in. So we'll see.
We talked about this before the show, Adam, a little bit, and I will admit that I don't know the ins and outs of him as well as you do. I like the potential, and I can speak just kind of vaguely on my opinion a little bit on bringing in a guy with some character concerns. I believe that the Vikings have a really solid locker room. We know it's a young team, but there is some good veteran presence in there. Even a guy like Teddy is a leader of that locker room that can, even though he's a young guy, he's still a definite leader in there. I believe that we have the coaching staff in place. Mike Zimmer is a no-nonsense kind of guy. So if you're willing to, every now and then, take a shot on a guy a little bit, I feel like they can do it. They can bring him in. Also, if it wasn't to work out, it's a defensive tackle. We're really pretty set at defensive tackle as is, so the Vikings could cut ties with him at any point, and it's not really any harm or any foul, I don't think. So yeah,
when you're talking about any roster spot is valuable, especially when trying to evaluate these young guys, and I understand the potential. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were talking about this guy like he was the next Vince Wilfork, so that's high praise coming out of college. And he was a starter for the Jets for a while. Mm-hmm. And they called him the super sub because whenever he came in, it felt like there was still a starter in there. And there's so much to be excited about this guy. But then there's that voice in the back of my head saying, well, I don't know. Still, it's good to see the Vikings pick up a guy with that much talent. And maybe you're right. Maybe the locker room's ready to take care of him. Maybe that was just a one-time incident and he's moved on from that and learned what to do, and that's absolutely great. We all make mistakes.
What do you call him? The super sub?
Yeah.
See, that could be a little bit of like, Tom Johnson. Maybe he was their version of Tom Johnson.
That's where I was going to come in with that. The character stuff is pretty crazy, but just how much better can this D-line get? Looking at the potential this guy has.
Tom Johnson will be over next to him because he's going to be more of a nose type guy. So now they got a lot of really big physical guys to cycle in, and it's exciting the middle of that defensive line, even with losing Shamar Stephen. Mm-hmm. All right, so the next thing that we got, the title of the episode, The Donutty Professor. Of course, we're talking about Viking Donut Club, which has been making a big amount of noise in the media recently. If you're a Vikings fan, I'm sure you've read about the donuts.
I actually haven't. I seen it this morning when I went online to watch the press conferences and whatnot. So you want to fill me in on the Vikings Donut Club?
All right. So apparently there are many rules to the Minnesota Vikings Donut Club.
Is the first rule not to talk about Donut Club?
It's supposed to be, but
we're talking about Donut Club, so we are
and the
breaking.
people over at Monday Morning Quarterback have figured out 7 rules that the club goes by. And I wrote these in an article on the Viking Age. You can head over there and check them out, but I'm going to read them off for you anyway. The first rule, trainer Eric Sugarman brings in the donuts each week, but the players rotate on paying for them. So there's something kind of funny there about a guy named Sugarman bringing in the donuts, but we won't talk puns. We'll keep moving on.
We won't talk puns. That's a first. 174 episodes and we're not going to talk puns.
Nope, we're skipping that one. Donut Club starts promptly at 7:50. Not before, not after. If the donuts are set out before 7:50, you do not touch the donuts until it is 7:50. And if you want a donut, you must arrive on time. If you're late, no donut.
Must be good donuts.
The next rule, do not touch or eat any of the donuts before Donut Club begins. Violations will result in a suspension from the club. Number 4, if you take the donut, eat the donut. You don't take a donut, take a couple bites, throw it away, or leave it there and let it get all crusty. No, you take your donut and you eat it. Chad Greenway will call out anybody who does it and call them super weak. Membership in Vikings Donut Club is based on attendance. You must attend Vikings Donut Club 3 weeks in a row to become a member. And that's quite a big thing because Vikings Donut Club starts so much earlier than organized activities that you're giving up a lot of your time to show up. So it's a little bit of a...
I feel like there's a Bryant McKinney joke to be made somewhere in here about all of this. Just about showing up early and eating donuts. But I'm not sure.
Now, you must represent during Vikings Donut Club. The new Vikings Donut Club this year now have T-shirts. With Viking Donut Club, you show up, you rep your T-shirt. If you don't have a T-shirt, you wear some team colors. And there's a huge demand for these shirts still, and even Jared Allen tried sporting a Vikings Donut Club shirt when he was sporting it down in Chicago when he was trying to bring the Donut Club there, but I guess it was not as big of a success.
As
the final rule,
most things in Chicago tend not to be recently,
is that Donut Club is for life. Once you're a member, you're always a member. Go to a different team, retire, whatever, you're always a member of the Vikings Donut Club.
Do they have honorary members for fans?
I don't know, but I know that they're trying to... They're debating whether or not to sell Vikings Donut Club T-shirts for the general public and to make them available for others. So it'll be interesting to see if they do that. I don't know if they will.
I think they should, because I want one.
Vikings Donut Club. So those are the 7 rules of Vikings Donut Club. And it's amazing that all these guys show up this early to get together and have a donut. And as soon as that 7:50 hits, they pick out their donut, they raise it up, they clink them together like they're wine glasses, and then they eat.
That's awesome. That's good team building chemistry, actually. It really is.
On to a weirder note, most fans noticed that Everson Griffin was absent from the game on Sunday. The NFL is currently investigating his absence and as to why he wasn't listed on the injury report prior to the game. Now, this can be a kind of a big deal, and the Vikings could see themselves fined if the NFL finds that they were misleading the opposing team and not listing an injured or ill player on their report.
Because the NFL apparently does not think you can get sick overnight.
No.
Just can't happen. That's just...
And they'll absolutely fine you if you do something in honor of your appearance and write it on your eye marks, whatever. So,
oh yeah,
good job, NFL. You do big things every week.
You got a weird hallway thing going on there, Mr. Smith. You're sounding a little far away. But we can still make you out. Hopefully, we can get that fixed up in a little bit here. We got more stuff going on though. Terrence Newman says that Stefon Diggs is a potential Hall of Famer. I mean, I know that I'm loving the potential I'm seeing from this kid. I'm watching him grow and develop a relationship with Teddy Bridgewater. I'm not ready to slap potential Hall of Famer. I'm not ready to put, reminds me of Antonio Brown. Right now, I'm just saying this guy's got some talent. He can run routes really well. And Teddy Bridgewater really has no problem throwing him the football.
Yeah, and you listen to Stephon Diggs talk in his press conferences, and he also does not like comparisons. He just shuns them off right away and just doesn't want to go there. He wants to be his own guy, and he's the first to admit that, hey, he has lots of work and lots of things that he wants to improve upon. You had a funny statement earlier when we were talking about how technically everyone in the NFL is a potential
Oh, sure.
Hall of Fame player.
Anybody.
So Terrence Newman is not wrong.
He's not incorrect.
No, he's correct. And I think that we should refer to Teddy Bridgewater as the Minnesota Vikings' potential Hall of Fame quarterback.
As long as we refer to Vladimir Ducasse the same way.
You can. He's potential, not probable, but potential.
Potentially.
Potentially. He could turn it around.
Even though he might not be a Hall of Famer, he is nominated for Pepsi Rookie of the Week this week for his efforts against Kansas City Chiefs. Him and teammate Eric Kendricks have both made the list, so you can head on over to NFL.com and vote for the Pepsi Rookie of the Week there.
Eric Kendricks is good. That is my analysis of him.
All right, so Sunday, I was at the game. Minnesota Vikings beat the Kansas City Chiefs 17-10. It was kind of a messy game. It was kind of a windy game. Not a lot of points went up on the board. But overall, the Vikings walked out with a win. I think they learned a lot about several of their players during that game. But before we talk about individual performances in a stat format, we have our donkey and our game ball to give away.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to go
first? Who wants to kick it off this week?
Adam, you were at the game, so I kind of feel like you should kick it off first for us.
Oh, you guys gonna let me have the easy one? Okay.
Yeah, we'll give you.
Eric Kendricks is my game ball.
Damn you! You took mine.
Hey, that's why you don't let me go first. I usually have a list of like 4 or 5.
Hey, you know what? Take it away, because this dude was awesome.
10 total tackles, 1 sack, 1 pass defended, a quarterback hit. Eric Kendricks is what the Minnesota Vikings needed at middle linebacker. I cannot believe so many teams passed on him. So many teams needy of a middle linebacker passed on him because they thought that he was not big enough.
I am glad other teams are stupid.
It's the size of the play, not the size of the player. We've come to learn that in the NFL. And Eric Kendricks is one of the guys that's showing us with his athleticism that he can get things done. And I'm a big fan, and I am ready to watch him grow and develop there right next to Anthony Barr. It's going to be fun watching.
Gerald who? There's a reason why we traded Gerald Hodges and don't need him on the team, folks.
My donkey this week, Mike Wallace.
Really?
I just can't understand his function in this offense right now. Targeted 9 times by Teddy Bridgewater in the game. He had at least 2, and I'm being very nice saying at least 2 easy drops in this game. But to be targeted 9 times and haul in 2 of them for 23 yards, when you're supposed to be the number 1 receiver, he was tied for the most targets with Stephon Diggs. And yet the results between him and Stephon Diggs, it's astronomical. So I don't know what Mike Wallace has to do to get on the same page with Teddy Bridgewater. I don't know what the problem is there, but whatever it is, they got to figure it out, because whatever Mike Wallace is getting paid right now,
it's too much.
It's
too much
for the job he's doing. And I understand he's out there putting forth the effort, but effort doesn't get you points, doesn't get you touchdowns, and it doesn't win games. Results do.
Well, I'm going to go with results for my game ball. I'm going to pick my man, Stephon Diggs. 7 receptions for $129. He had no touchdowns. Long of 31 yards. anyone who says Teddy can't throw the deep ball, you can already see the connection happening between Teddy and Diggs. This kid is starting to stretch the field for Minnesota. He's becoming Teddy's go-to receiver in this offense. He has played his way up the depth chart. I know it's only 2 games, and no, I'm not ready to call him a potential Hall of Famer, but he is looking to be a really good pickup, steal of the draft for the Minnesota Vikings.
Head coach Mike Zimmer has already said that he is not willing to say that he will bring back either Charles Johnson or anybody else to be the starting wide receiver opposite Mike Wallace until he can make a firm decision on Stephon Diggs. So it sounds like he's considering keeping Diggs as the starting wideout opposite Wallace.
Why? I mean, after the production that you've seen from Diggs, why would you want to take that away?
Because we saw some awesome production from Charles Johnson in a larger span of time. I mean, I know that we've seen big rate of return. Yeah, last season, Charles Johnson was awesome.
We did, but I also feel like you can rotate Charles Johnson in with Mike Wallace and Diggs and whatever, and you can get it done with all of these guys producing. I think the real question is who becomes inactive on game days when he comes back out of the 6 wide receivers. Who's the odd man out? And
we'll get to that very soon in my bold statement of the week.
Oh, okay.
My opinion on that is who I was considering giving my donkey to, Zach Line. He wasn't even the starting fullback for this game. It was Red Ellison.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand a lot of the function and purposes of the players on these teams if they're not going to use them for the methods that they're for. And I understand that they can't use Zach Line for blocking because he is struggling so badly right now. It's just a tough situation moving forward.
He'll be gone when Sully comes back and they got to clear up a roster spot. That's my prediction.
It's very possible. And you got your donkey coming up, right?
Yeah, my donkey. I guess I kind of forgot we weren't doing round table here. My donkey, I am going to go with Cordero Patterson. And I know that I will save Mr. Smith probably for his bold statement. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to guess it has something to do with Cordero, so I won't rag too hard on this. But it's like, dude, I don't even, like you said, Adam, serving a function for this team. Like, I know he returns kicks, but it's not like he's returning kicks like Devin Hester.
No.
So I don't really know what function he is serving with this team. And I honestly feel like the only reason he's still active on game days is because they kind of gave up a lot of draft picks for him and are not ready to, like, throw in the towel yet.
Sounds about right to me.
Yep.
Oh, so tempting to jump in on that. I'll wait. My game ball, you guys took both the ones in my front runner, so I'm going to go a little off the line here. I'm going to give it to Danielle Hunter, having to step in for Everson Griffin. He had 4 tackles, 1 assist, half a sack, a forced fumble. I wanted to give it to Captain Munderland. He almost got us a safety at the beginning of the game. He's been playing very well. He gets my honorable mention of the week. But I'm going to give it to Danielle Hunter. He had some big shoes to fill, got half a sack, and like I said, 4 tackles. He was thrust into, and basically his number got called. And I was okay with the performance he gave out. You know, as a good Mike Zimmer player, I like what I see in him. My donkey, as many fans would say, and I'm pretty sure you guys saved this one for me because you probably knew I was going to pick him. Teddy Bridgewater, not a good day from him. When you have a 65.1 quarterback rating, I can't believe we won a football game with that. 17 and 31. He did throw a lot because I'll give a shout out to Kansas City's line. They bottled AP up all day long. Fun fact of the day, a good stat. We haven't won a game when Adrian Peterson has rushed for 60 yards since 2011. So I'll give him the sense that he had to step up and throw the ball a lot. But the first one that I did not like was the first pick. Don't force plays. He forced into a turnover, which could have been a field goal, and we could have wrapped this game up a lot sooner than we had to. I think Teddy's been asked to do a lot more than he might have expected. I didn't expect us to throw the ball as much as we had this year, but I want to see better decisions made from Teddy. I want to see the picks go down. I want to see that this year. I don't want the picks and the touchdowns to be anywhere near each other. And right now, I do believe he has more interceptions than touchdowns. So he gets my donkey of this week.
I totally agree with you with Daniil Hunter. I loved what I saw from him when he stepped in. He did a real good job having his number called on game day, coming in and filling in. This is the kind of thing that you want to see from a young guy. Teddy Bridgewater, on the other hand, I think Teddy's in a spot where he wants to play conservative because that's how he plays. He wants to be as safe as possible and just move the ball down the field by picking up first downs one at a time. But I think that he is hearing the voices in his head that he's got to take more risks every once in a while. And I think he's trying to force things that he normally wouldn't. That's just my opinion. I might be completely off base here, and he might
I
be
think
just
you're absolutely right.
doing what he does naturally. But from watching him at Louisville and then watching him his rookie year in the preseason, he's making decisions that I normally wouldn't see him make. And after he makes the decisions, you can look at him and you can tell that he's really disappointed with what he did.
Yes.
So I know that Teddy Bridgewater can play better than what we saw on Sunday. I know Teddy Bridgewater knows that he can play better than what he did on Sunday. And it'll be interesting to see how he rebounds from this performance. Although a winning performance, he still needs to rebound against Detroit.
What I don't want to see, and this won't take long, I don't want to see us develop to be the Denver Broncos. Sure, I'd love to have the number one defense in the NFL. I think with Mike Zimmer, it's very possible. But I don't want to see a quarterback who has to get saved every week by defense. I don't want to win games by 6 points or less every week. That's just me being a greedy fan. If we win every game by 1 point, that's fine because we got the win. But like you said, I've seen him, and I think the best way you described it was forcing things. We have good wide receivers. We may even have a great one that we just decided to fill in, almost midway through the season. So the receivers can get open. Jarius Wright had a great route that he ran where he was wide open. Teddy can find those guys. I think when it comes to especially the red zone, you can't have turnovers. I just can't stand those. If you're going to turn the ball over, don't do it there.
I totally agree. You can't give up points.
And it was also a game where you very easily could have given Adrian a donkey as well, too. On 26 attempts, he only had 60 yards rushing. And you look at Matt Asiata, on 5 attempts, he had 27 yards. So you're going, they got virtually no help from the run game. And not that you want to use that as an excuse for throwing the 2 interceptions, because the interceptions were bad decisions on Teddy's part. But when you get no help from the run game like that, and you put it all on your quarterback, I mean, yes, I do think that he should respond better, and he will respond better than that in the future, at least I hope so anyway. But, I mean, Adrian is supposed to be a premier back in the league. Not trying to take anything away from Kansas City. They did an excellent job containing and stopping him, but Adrian is supposed to be getting it done more than that as well, too. So when he has that kind of game, like that to me throws probably the whole game plan just off kilter and off balance.
I think the Vikings said it best when they said that that Kansas City picked their poison. They chose to stop the run. They focused on stopping the run. They played the run almost exclusively. They made Teddy Bridgewater beat them. And Bridgewater didn't respond the way that we really hoped, but he did enough to get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Right.
this job that he did, it won't be enough to finish off most teams. Most teams have a much more polished and much more healthy offense than the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah,
So,
if you're playing, Tom Brady or whatever, like they're gonna
16
blow.
points ain't gonna do it.
No, they're gonna blow you out of the water if you can't keep pace with them. But I think it's a good learning experience for Teddy, and because we gotta remember, guys, he's got, relatively speaking, he's still got a low number of starts underneath his belt.
This was number 17.
Yes, he is still in the learning process. So I know we're all excited, we're all worried because how it turned out with Ponder, but Teddy will be fine. Just give him time, and Teddy will be okay.
I
Yeah, I
agree. I
didn't give
think the
Adrian
thing
my
that
donkey because of that same reason.
Hmm.
The Chiefs focused on stopping him.
Yes.
I wanted to
26
say that
carries.
earlier. When Matt Asiata gets 5 carries and almost half the yardage, you can tell that the box wasn't stacked enough and they weren't planning because
Yep.
they don't see Asiata as that threat that Adrian is. Also, for your point on Teddy, I like to preach this a lot because I will always believe in this no matter how advanced in the passing game and how easy it might be for quarterbacks 10, 20, 30 years down the road in the NFL. 3 years is what you need to invest to watch a quarterback. You can have a good breakout year, you can have a sophomore slump. See where they're at that third year. We are technically 1 year and one game into Teddy's career. Give him that chance because I know a lot of people, if he plays like this again, are going to be ready to throw in the towel. And my question to you is, are you really ready to carry the franchise with Sean Hill? So just keep that in mind. I'm not knocking Sean Hill by any means, but don't throw your towels in just yet.
You don't want Caleb Heineke time?
Taylor Heineke,
Or
come on, man.
Taylor? I can't even remember his name. You mean you
Oh,
don't want
Jesus.
him?
Oh, if he has that, if we have resorted to Taylor Heineke, we have bigger issues.
Yeah.
So we talked about the wide receivers. We pretty much named all of them going down. Uh, the one guy we didn't mention that much was Kyle Rudolph, who had 2 catches for 9 yards and a touchdown. It's
Don't
nice
ever
to see him
want
finding the end zone, even though he only caught 2 balls.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't ever want to discredit someone for catching a touchdown. That's points on the board. That's important. But I mean, really, he's just not getting it done this year.
But it's a step in the right direction. It's Teddy watching for his target in the end zone.
Mhm.
And even though it was a short situation, he looked to his tall, athletic tight end, which is standard in the NFL these
Guys,
days. So it's good to see him kind of following suit.
I I realize you can't have everyone active on game days. I think that's a stupid rule. I think you should be able to. But at what point do you think they would maybe go, we want Chase Ford active on game days so that maybe we can try him on the field and see if we can get more production out of him than what we're getting with Rudolph? I'm being
I
I'm being serious right now.
We got the CPAT situation. They threw too much money at him to sit him down.
So,
it's money, man. They're never gonna do that because
which
they
is
paid him to be there, and I hate it because
it's
I agree
BS.
totally with you.
It's
I agree totally.
I mean, yeah, I know they're paying him like a tight end, top tight end, but whatever, dude. Like
Yep.
whatever.
Same reason CPAT's active every week.
We need to win football games, and I
Same reason why Mike Wallace is still a starter, even though he hasn't really been able to establish himself as being starter worthy in Minnesota.
don't you wish you knew, like, if you could talk to Mike Zimmer behind closed doors, like what he would, like, what he would actually do if there was none of the politics behind it? I'd love to know.
It would be really interesting.
I think there'd be a lot of humbled people on the Vikings roster.
Yeah, I'm sure there already is, but
Now, let's talk about a guy on the Vikings defense that is getting a lot of flack. Anderson Dejo seems to be a lot of people's donkey these days.
mhm.
And I understand that he has given up some plays as a safety. He's not as a safety he's good. When they ask him to be a cornerback, not so good. Now, he did have 7 tackles, all solo tackles, and defended 1 pass, and I feel like his contributions on special teams are solid. And as a placeholder, I love Anderson Dejo in there. Now, do I want him as a starter? No. I want them to find someone who fits really well beside Harrison Smith. I want that kind of Legion of Boom scariness at safety over there in Minnesota. That's what I want. I want something similar to that.
Mhm. I think we all do, but that's not going to happen until next year's draft.
Right.
So
That's why
it's just
fans need
kind
to
of,
be patient.
yes, it's just kind of like we have to kind of, you got to deal with what you have to deal with, and
In the meantime, I don't think Anderson Dejo is doing that horribly that he should be getting called out on a regular basis.
I don't think so either. But you know what, man? Every year there's that one player that people like to rag on. for being sort of like the cause of all the team's problems.
So it's him and Trey Waynes, huh?
Yeah, remember when it was Bernard Berrien a few years back?
Well, they were right about that.
Well, I know, but no matter what happened, it's like
See,
everyone
twice.
everyone always blamed Bernard Berrien for it, and I sense a little bit of that's what's going on. Last year it was Matt Khalil. Like
It was.
yeah, Matt Khalil's everything was Matt Khalil's fault. Up to this point,
Sure
it's kind
was.
of been Blair Walsh.
And this year, it's still the whole Trey Waynes versus Marcus Peters thing. It'll never stop. It seems like on Twitter.
Shout out to Trey Waynes. He did not play as well as Marcus Peters. However, he did have 3 tackles in this game, so another
For what he
step in
was
the right
asked to do,
direction.
he did a good job, I thought.
Baby
Linval
steps.
Joseph, Sharif Floyd both had really good games again, in my opinion. The inside of that line, defensive line, doing a fantastic job. Brian Robinson, even though he didn't get the sacks, didn't get a ton of tackles, he still got pressures, and pressures can result in bad plays. Especially when you got a guy like Alex Smith back there who plays based on rhythm a lot. Otherwise, defensively, not a whole lot other notable things happened there.
Captain Mutterlin doesn't really show up on the stat sheet. You look at it and there's nothing that really speaks out about him. But you watch the game tape, and Captain Mutterlin is really looking good for the Vikings. And I don't understand the people that are still continually coming out and talking about how, oh, the Vikings are going to trade Captain, or they're going to do this, or he needs to be cut. Like, he's playing some darn good football for Minnesota.
I thought it was really interesting when Captain came out and said that last year he was being coached, but he was still kind of doing his own thing. He wasn't listening as much to the coaches.
What's different
And
this
that
year?
this year he's finally
Yeah.
starting to buckle down and just follow what the coaches are saying and play his role.
Mhm.
And he's being so effective in this role now that all the criticism from last year is disappearing slowly. So I'm glad to see that happening.
Yeah, every time I see someone criticize Captain, I always just figure like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. Real, I
Like
mean,
they're living
really.
last year.
Yep, it's like, oh, they're still thinking about how he was playing last year because
Yep.
you watch him, especially in this Chiefs game. He was out there making plays for Minnesota, some key plays in key situations.
CPAT 2 kick returns, 51 yards.
No one cares.
He did that. Blair Walsh connected on every kick he had, 3 extra points, and a nice 45-yard field goal.
People care. People like Blair Walsh now.
People should like Jeff Locke. 4 punts for 181 yards, 45.2 average, and I'm gonna throw a lot of props to Blair Walsh and Jeff Locke. The wind down on that field was circling pretty good, and we saw that on a Dustin Colquitt punt that was just yuck. It was absolute yuck. That's what it was.
Total yuck. It's nice to see that our specialists are getting to a point where we don't have to talk about them in a negative light anymore. Like,
No,
Blair's
no more
make-
donkeys for the
Yeah.
specialists.
and I'm gonna attribute it to them getting some actual live game time. You know, working out there together, and Walsh was in a little bit of a funk, and it happens, and whatever. I really think he's past it, and he can get back to being the excellent kicker that we know he is.
I hope so, because it was pretty reassuring that game that he was able to go in with all the wind just swirling around and confidently go out and boot that 45-yarder through. Because I admit I wasn't sure.
I mean, would you guys rather have had him have his slump now, or Gary Anderson's situation in '98 when you need him the most at the end of the year and misses a field goal?
I
Hey,
don't
you
even
can
wanna
still
think
Gary
about that.
Anderson it. The two are not mutually exclusive.
Don't jinx it, Adam. Don't be jinxing it. But
It can still happen.
I'm just saying, I would rather maybe have him have his struggles now as opposed to late in the season.
Well, we asked you guys who your game ball and donkey were this week. Mr. Kyle West posted it up on the Facebook page. We had 3 you guys reply to us. And David Shaw says that he would give Captain Munnerlin his game ball. Or maybe Diggs. Yeah, probably Diggs.
Awesome.
Thomas Booge says Diggs is the easy game ball, but I'd say Munnerlin earned one too. Donkey for sure. Wallace. Too many missed catches. I'm with you on that one, sir. Brandon Hollis says Blair Walsh for not missing any kicks. My donkey would be Mike Wallace for not catching most of the passes thrown his way. Yep, pretty good stuff there.
I like our fans. I like the general consensus that people had.
I like the fact that people sound like they know what they're talking about and actually watch the games. That's pretty sweet.
That as well, too.
Our fans on the podcast page and our listeners are great. And you know how you know that our listeners are awesome? Because they're taking the time out of their day to listen to other people talk about their favorite team. Not so many people will do that. So big thumbs up and thanks again to you guys. I don't know how you do it, but you do.
Yeah, we don't know how you make it through this show, but we're glad
I don't
that you
either.
do. We're glad that you do it every week.
I mean, if I had to listen to 174 of these things, I don't know. Whew, it's a lot. It's a lot of me. Way too much me. Speaking of me, I was a dum-dum this week, and I gave you guys a social media question that I never posted up. So we're going to hold that question over to last week, or over to next week, and we're going to ask you this week again what the absolute worst thing you'd do if it guaranteed a Minnesota Vikings Super Bowl would be. And I really want you to answer this, and I feel bad that I didn't post it up after how much I hyped it last week.
Hey, it's okay. We gave him a week to think about it.
We had a bye week for the social media question, so we're going to get to that.
Absolutely. We can get this done, guys. Before Kyle Smith's bold statement, I'm going to jump in with an update on the Yahoo Survival League.
We got a game preview to do, too. Don't forget.
Nah, nobody cares about the Lions.
We have to... Well, that's also a true statement, but we got to preview Detroit.
We can do that, too, I suppose. But let me run down the Yahoo Survival League.
Okay.
This week, we only had one player guess incorrectly. So we still have 14 active players, but now we have no flawless players. Everybody's got at least one strike. We got 7 with 1 strike, 7 with 2 strikes, and as always, things are going to keep getting harder because you can't pick the same team twice. It's going to get more difficult and more difficult and more difficult, and teams are going to be dropping like flies. So good luck to everyone who's still in the league. Remember that the winner gets a nice Minnesota Vikings jersey, and it's going to be fun to see how this whole thing turns out.
I wonder if anyone bet on Cleveland this week.
I don't know. If you want to start the game preview up, I'll check.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that. I will start the preview. We are playing the Detroit Lions. We're going to kill Matthew Stafford. I think that's the key to victory for the Vikings, as always, is that you apply pressure to Matt Stafford. He will try to Brett Favre it up, but guess what? He don't have the Brett Favre magic. He can get some interceptions, so maybe we can get a pick 6 from Xavier Rhodes. I am looking for the Vikings defense again to step up big against Detroit. Offensively, I am hoping for a rebound game for Teddy Bridgewater. I don't think that we will see the interceptions from him. I think he will work very, very hard to try to, do ball security. I'm hoping for another big game from Diggs. And I think Adrian as well, too, is going to have a bounce-back game. Because you might be able to hold Adrian to 60 yards rushing 1 week, but you ain't going to do it 2 weeks in a row, even though Detroit does have a pretty stout front.
It's true. I just checked, and no, nobody took Cleveland this week, but we did have 8 bold individuals take the Minnesota Vikings. The only team that got a strike this week chose the Atlanta Falcons. So back to the game review, though, or game preview. This Detroit Lions game, it feels... I don't like the feel of it. I don't like it at all.
I'm with you on that.
After seeing what I saw this week, sort of sloppy offense, inability to finish drives, some bad decisions, they're going to have to clean up... The Vikings have to clean up their game significantly if they want to beat the Detroit Lions, who actually had a very solid performance last week, especially from Matt Stafford. I got to watch the end of this game on the big screen at TCF, so that was pretty fun. Just hanging out there in the field watching the end of the Lions game.
A side note, how was TCF? I've never been. Did you like it?
I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. I forgot my sunscreen, but it was they gave away the breast cancer awareness towels, so I got to put one of those over my head so
Oh,
I didn't
cool.
get sunburnt. That was real nice. I didn't care for the seating a whole lot. The metal benches didn't do a lot for my bum, but hey, you can't ask for everything, and
It
it was
is,
nice to be able to have the place just absolutely packed with fans. And honestly, I don't think there's a bad seat in the house.
and that's awesome.
I think I'm gonna piggyback. Haha, got to say it this week on your.
Piggyback.
I think I'm gonna piggyback that on the Detroit game. Look, Detroit looks like crap this year. I think we could all agree. I was very surprised that they are a playoff team from a year ago compared to how they're playing now. I just don't know why they can't figure it out. Look for this team who only has one win to come out fighting and be very, very scrappy. And if I am right, which I believe I am, we are going to Detroit. We are not
Yep.
the best road team, so this is going to be a tough, tough divisional game, a crucial divisional game, because if we can get ahead of steam, we're already pretty well above securing second place down in the NFC North. If we can get two and sweep Detroit, we are going to be well on our way to being contenders for a wild card spot. It's a crucial game. But don't discredit the Lions just because their record is crap. They've lost some really close games from really tough teams.
True.
They haven't been getting blown out, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, this is a game that scares me. Living in Michigan, I never want the Vikings to lose to the Lions. That's a rough one. That's an absolute rough one. During the Lions' own 16 season, I think it was week 15 or 16 that the Lions played the Vikings, and it went down to the wire. And I was sitting here saying, I was like, please don't let the Vikings be the only team the Lions beat this year. And I'm so glad that didn't happen. So my gut feelings are wrong once in a while. So I'm glad that even though I'm having some bad feelings about this game coming up, that I could be very wrong. Still, I hope they're coming into this game being very serious and taking the Lions as very serious opponents because they can be very scary. They have a lot of weapons and they are better than their record says, and their roster is more talented than people think. Uh, it's time for Kyle Smith's bold statement.
So we hinted at this earlier, and I think a lot of people will agree. I'm going to start it with a little pre-rant that should take a couple seconds. Go to Washington, D.C., go to the Redskins. There's a guy sitting on the bench right now that the Washington Redskins paid a lot of money for, named Robert Griffin III. We have not gotten that far yet to pay one guy that you guys know by the name of Cordero Patterson. Thank God he's still on a rookie contract. If I had the choice to make this a social media question, I would. We might even, if Adam gives it the go ahead, we might even do that next week or the week after. I am ready to absolutely cut ties with this kid. I know it sounds like giving up. I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. When you have a guy like Stephon Diggs come in as a rookie, and he's had two games that Cordero wishes he could have had in the last 3 years. I understand he's a dual threat. He's very athletic. He does not get it. Me personally, in my own opinion, just my opinion, I could be wrong. It doesn't seem like he wants to put in as much effort as a Stephon Diggs or an Adam Thielen. So I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one out there who thinks we can go ahead and cut ties. And I know the argument. I'll stop you before you can say it and shout at me in your car or in your headphones or whatever else. But he's a good kick returner. We kick it from what, the 35 now? The chances for him to take it back are slim to none. It's almost always going to be a touchback. Guys have done their research on Cordero. They try to kick it to a touchback every time. I don't like him as a wide receiver. I don't think he understands it. I think he was a loss and a good old bust, as they call it in the draft, and I'm ready to move on.
Well, Vikings fans will throw the other argument at you. The Minnesota needs to design plays to get the ball in his hands.
You
And
know
my
what?
my problem with that is why why disrupt the offense
Exactly.
to draw in a play for one guy to
And here's
try to
my
do something on a trick play, a flip, something, anything. I mean, why? Why do this?
I think the biggest thing for that too, and I think a lot of people would agree, you guys would probably agree too, if you've got to cater to one person on your offense, it's not going to be your six string wide receiver as he is right now. It's going to be your quarterback. And if you're going to bring Cordero in on the type of plays that he excels at, the defense already picks that up. When you put
Right.
Cordero and Adrian in the backfield, they're going to expect a sweep. They're going to expect a little flea flicker action. They already know what's going to happen. Unless you line him up as a running back, and I don't know, you put the fullback in, try to do some crazy hole to get his athleticism, opened up and everything. I don't
As soon
know
as you
how
say
else.
that, all I picture is that freaking play by the Colts on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what do you guys want us to do to get him more involved? Because he doesn't understand it. He doesn't get it, and it's pretty easy to see. So I don't know. I want him
For
to
me,
have
the icing on
faith.
the cake is when he asked, "What else do I have to do?"
I don't know, catch balls, run routes, score touchdowns, pretty much be a wide receiver.
Look at Stephon Diggs. That's what you have to do. You want to be on the field, produce.
And here's the
Right?
thing:
Right?
it's not what you have to do. These players should want to do this. It's their livelihood. It's how they make their money. Stephon Diggs, I bet you he knows that if he works hard and plays well, he'll rise up. He'll be a starter. He could become, some sort of a star player.
Hmm.
He could earn endorsements. He could earn a big payday. All these things come with working hard, learning your route tree, developing a chemistry with your quarterback. These are all things that'll happen. And I don't see Cordero Patterson putting forth the effort. And like I've said before, though, I am not there on the practice field. I don't know what this kid is like in practice. He could be hustling his butt off, trying to learn the tree, trying to develop a relationship, and maybe it's just not clicking. I don't know. It's one of those situations where I'm on the outside looking in, and it looks bad.
And we've all heard that North Turner's offense is tough to grasp to begin with. So, we can be hard on Cordero all we want to, but, like you said, Adam, you really don't know. I'd love to see the kid succeed, but man,
Of
I'm
course.
I'm also at the point too where it's like you're not producing
It's not a second chance when you've had 3 years.
exactly. And you see rookies come in and they've already gone over top of you on the depth chart. Because they're outplaying you.
Speaking of that, I wanted to segue, Paul Blart. We're talking about
Blart.
Stephon Diggs a lot. So I wanted to say, he's had two very, very big games. Pretty sweet, right? You know
Yeah.
how we gave, I forget who gave Mike Wallace their donkey this week. Look out for Mike Wallace in the Detroit game. I wanted to write this down earlier, kind of got off on a tangent. Teams are going to start looking to contain Stephon Diggs. They've already got to count for AP. Look for Mike Wallace to start getting more involved, maybe catch some more balls. I know he got targeted a lot this game. They're going to start to figure out, holy crap, we can't let number 14 get in there. Not Joe Webb, Stephon Diggs. Pretty funny, right? The wide receiver, the enigma that was Joe Webb. Now, you're gonna have to start accounting for him as well. I don't know if they're gonna double team him necessarily, but they're gonna try to find ways to stop him, which is gonna in turn help Mike Wallace hopefully show that he is the number one wide receiver on this team. So just a little nugget to kind of think about. Maybe keep that in mind for the next couple weeks. I'm glad we had this problem though of two really good wide receivers.
That's
to
such a
worry
weird
about.
situation, though, because that was supposed to be Mike Wallace's job. He was supposed to be the one there to draw the double teams, open things up on the other side, draw people out of the box for Adrian Peterson. It wasn't supposed to be a mid-round draft pick.
I hope these coaches can figure it out. I think they will. I think they'll adjust it and try to fix it to where this offense clicks. Even though we wanted to make it, I don't say the offense around Mike Wallace. Of course, it's not going to be around him, but you're exactly right. I figured he would be the guy that you would have to double up and contain. But whatever, man. If you just got to switch out jersey numbers and names and do it elsewhere, I don't care. I think it's great. I think they're two very, very potentially explosive wideouts. So it's a pretty good problem that we have. We're not necessarily known for our passing game, so.
No. As a matter of fact, I think Minnesota's ranked dead last in the league in passing.
Mm-hmm.
And still have a winning record, by the way. That's pretty funny.
And still struggling on the ground as well, so they're getting it done, but they're getting it done with defense, and that is exactly what they're going to have to do against Detroit because they can't let Detroit get on the scoreboard as often as they did last week.
Come on, Norv. Your unit's becoming the weak link. You get it together up there. Mm-hmm.
That's all I got for this week. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about?
You can buy the official Purple People podcast t-shirt now.
Oh, nice. Where?
You can. KyleWestPhotography.com. You can check it out. I got a group uh, thing you can click on for Purple People Podcast, and it's right in there, and you can get this awesome new logo on your shirt. And I will have more podcast stuff up soon.
Nice. Can I get that logo on a hat or a coffee mug or something else too?
You can get it on a cell phone case. You can get it on a shower curtain. I don't know why I don't have a shower curtain, but you could. You can get you can shower with the podcast.
There you go.
Uh,
That's, I'm sure, what all the listeners have been dreaming about.
hey, we don't judge how you listen to the
No,
show.
no.
You can also check out. I did a cool Randy Moss
I
drawing.
was just gonna try to plug that for
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Randy Moss one. I bought a graphics tablet. It's going to be coming here in a couple days, so I can do some more really cool stuff like that. So they'll help out quite a bit.
I will absolutely jump on that train to support Kyle. He sent me a couple of suggestions. You know, we're all buddies outside of this, so he can come up with stuff. I'm not going to say that you'll do custom everything for everyone, but I did say, hey, you know, you like Randy Moss, I like Chris Carter, I like Teddy Bridgewater. What can you do? Just sent me some ideas, just on the sketch pad, drawing around some, you know, rough drafts. Pretty cool that you can put these on T-shirts, and they got pretty cool designs. And my ideas are like a retro design, so I don't know if you would say that's accurate or not. They had kind of a throwback feel, which is really sweet. So you guys go check it out and support him on that.
Absolutely. Definitely worth checking out. And I got my stuff going on there on the Viking Age. Also got my Walking Dead stuff happening over on Undead Walking. It's a good time to be a fan of The Walking Dead if you like that show and are really interested in what's going on, because man, it's been getting crazy lately.
Oh, the episode was so good last week. So good.
So I definitely recommend you checking that out if you're a fan. I don't know what to plug for you, Mr. Smith.
Hey, you know what? I'm in Texas. I'm bouncing around all over the country. I'm deploying soon. My wife's coming with me. I'm just glad that I have time and Wi-Fi to record the show with you guys and to watch some football games. So that's all. If I have some stuff later, I'm sure I'll have some music stuff later. If you guys are into that, I'll give it to you when I get the chance.
Yeah, you got to get that YouTube channel up and running, man.
Might be able to do some damage with that. Maybe I'll throw that in here in a couple months.
Yeah, you got to get working on that. That's good stuff right there. In the meantime, head on over to Facebook. Check us out on there. Purple People Podcast. We got at Purple People Pod on the Twitter machine. Head on over there and check us out. Otherwise, we'd like you to stay classy, Minnesota.